Seniors and caregivers from Eastern Area Agency on Aging were given a special platform to voice their concerns with local lawmakers. A legislative conversation took place at the Durgin Center in Brewer earlier today. Featured appearances included Maine representatives and senators from Penobscot, Piscataquis, Hancock, and Washington counties who were given a chance to share their priorities. Those in attendance say the event helps lawmakers to hear from older Mainers and to get first-hand experience with those using the agency's programs, with hopes in the future to put these suggestions into action.
My goal and hope is that they do hear from the people with lived experience how important these services are, so when they are in Augusta and there's discussion about funding and bills, that they have that first-hand knowledge, they've seen it themselves, and can really advocate for that ongoing support.
Eastern Area Agency on Aging had received roughly $3.7 million in one-time funding from the Older Mainers Act last year, with the legislative conversation hoping to spark further interest in continued funding.